Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Taylor. Apologize for not having a more regular kind of video. I'm still working on my Tales of Xillia 2 review, so I'm finishing that up, and I really wanted to finish the game before I did the review. Got a couple chapters left after looking at some basic walkthrough outlines. So I know about how much further I have to go, but I want to make sure I finished it first. So that will come early next week sometime, and then I'll add a supplemental video to kind of make up for it. So there'll be 2 next week, but there was a ton of news this week that I wanted to talk about, and I didn't have time to make a video early in the week, so I at least wanted to make sure I went and made one and talked about it with you guys in the comments, because there was a ton of great news. So this past Sunday night for me, maybe early Monday morning for some of you, Sony held their pre-Tokyo Game Show press conference, and they had a ton of cool stuff to talk about. So there was some I wanted to talk about, and then there's a bunch of games missing in action that I wanted to talk about. So the first piece of news that I thought was worth mentioning was Bloodborne, the sort of spiritual successor to the Demon Souls and Dark Souls games, got a release date in Japan of February 5th. Now normally those games don't take a lot of time to localize because there's not a lot of text. So I feel like that game's gonna come out pretty soon. Now, February 5th is a Thursday. Normally games in North America come out on a Tuesday, which would be the 2nd or the 3rd, I believe. So that's cool. We're gonna get that game very soon. The only thing that has me worried is that that's only a couple weeks before the Order 1886, which a lot of people still have mixed opinions about. The impressions haven't been amazing. But I'm really excited for Bloodborne because I played the Demon Souls games. I played Demon Souls and the 2 Dark Souls games. And I love the sense of exploration, I love the atmosphere, but the combat, it's tough. I know that's what people love about it, that it's brutal and unforgiving, you have to learn, but it's so slow. Like even with the fast characters, it still feels slow, but Bloodborne seems to be a little bit quicker. You're gonna have a gun, you have this cool like transforming blade weapon, and then the atmosphere looks amazing, sort of this dark gothic like 1800s London kind of feel, sort of like The Order. So I'm really excited for that, the setting, and just the faster combat, and that I don't know, just all seems to be looking really, really good, and impressions from people seem to be, very positive. So looking forward to that. They announced a new Ys game for Vita and PlayStation 4, which I'm very excited about. And one feature in particular that I'm excited about is you finally get to control the camera with the right stick, because on the last couple, it's been a fixed camera, which is fine and it works well for what Ys is trying to do. But I've always wanted to be able to control the camera and see some different views of the game. So finally, in this next Ys game, I don't know if they're going to be calling it Ys 8 or something else, because I believe it takes place between a couple earlier iterations of the game. I don't know which two off the top of my head, but it does take place between a couple other previous games. I believe it's either 3 or 4 or 4 and 5. So I'm excited about that. I'm a big fan of Ys games, played 7 and still set on the Vita, so really excited for that. That's coming early next year for Japan, and Xseed is always really good at bringing those games over to the West, so I'm sure either late next year or early 2016 we'll get that game. Another game that a lot of people aren't necessarily talking about, but I'm really excited for, is Disgaea 5, and that's going to be a PlayStation 4 exclusive. Now normally what they do is they make a PS3 version and they downport it to Vita or upport, depending on how you want to look at it. But this game, they said, we could have made a PS3 version and put them on both, but we really wanted to make it on PS4 and make the best game we possibly could on PS4. So there's going to be, higher resolution graphics, maybe some cooler effects. Hopefully they're gonna make some cool new gameplay systems. So I'm really excited to see what Disgaea 5 has to show. The characters are already looking great. I always love the Disgaea character designs. My favorite so far is this one character. She's like a little girl, and she rides around on this big, pudgy yellow prinny. It's almost like it's her mount or something like that, and it just looks really cool. And the main character looks a lot like Vala Torres from Disgaea 4. Just, a couple tweaks here and there, but same color scheme, kind of dark clothing, dark hair. So very excited for that. Nippon Ichi always brings over the Disgaea games, so I'm sure at some point we're going to get that game, maybe next summer or next fall, but either way, we definitely will be getting that game, so I'm very excited for that. One game that was sort of interesting, I feel like people got really excited for it once they started showing it, but then the hype sort of died down once they found out what it really was, and that was Dragon Quest Heroes. which looks to be a sort of Dynasty Warriors take, but within the Dragon Quest universe, which seems to be a very popular thing to do. You know, they did it with One Piece, they did it with Gundam, they're doing it with Zelda very soon with Hyrule Warriors, and now it looks like they're doing a Dragon Quest. I've only played a couple of the Dragon Quest games, so my hype level isn't too high either way. I'm not super excited, I'm not super disappointed. I was really hoping it would have been Dragon Quest 11. That would have been amazing because we've been waiting for a proper sequel since Dragon Quest 9 on the DS, since we never got the MMO in the West. So yeah, here's hoping that that's good and that we'll get it, and then maybe at some point we get Dragon Quest 11, because I know we're all really looking forward to that. 8 is an amazing game, one of the best games on PS2. I'm sure if you played that you would agree with me. Now there's probably a couple I'm forgetting. There's some, you know, there were some dating sim things here and there. There was some Freedom Wars DLC and things of that nature. But the one game that I feel like got the most attention, and by the end of the conference was literally trending worldwide, was Persona 5. They showed a small teaser. It was like an animated cutscene with the protagonist. They basically showed the kind of the themes. He's on this train, and it cuts to some newspaper clippings, which people have translated basically just a lot of negative news, like, oh, people are getting kidnapped, and there's tax issues, a lot of corruption, and then it shows it shows him in his what appears to be his school uniform. He's got the chevrons on his collar, which indicates that it might be a military academy. And then the rest of the trailer shows people are on their cell phones, like everywhere on that train that he's in. They're on their cell phones, and as they're walking around this giant city, it looks like everybody's on their cell phones. And so that seems to be the setting for the game. A very, you know, definitely different from Inaba and Persona 4, which was sort of a small town. Now we're going back to the big city, similar to Persona 3. And they did confirm that this is in a high school setting, although it sort of looked like that this guy might have been college-aged, but it is going to be in high school, and does look like it's going to return to a bigger city, which is really cool. I'm excited for it. It just looked awesome. And then the big announcement, obviously, with it is that it's also coming to PS4, which I think is exciting for a lot of people, because I feel like there's only a small handful of games that people were holding onto their PS3 for, and this was one of them. And I feel like a lot of people are like, I can either sell my PS3, or if you never bought one, you can skip it, and now you can just move on to PS4 and get your Persona 5 fix there. This is one of my most anticipated games. I'm really, really excited for it. What I really hope is, here's all I'm expecting. You know, a lot of people have a lot of hype, and they're expecting this big change, like from Persona 2 to Persona 3. They had the social links, and the way you did combat, and just the way you explored the game was very different. So in Persona 5, here's all I'm hoping: just similar gameplay to Persona 4, you know, the mix between the social aspects, the dungeon crawling, but I want it to look like Catherine. I think a lot of people would be disappointed if it doesn't at least look like Catherine or Dancing All Night, the dancing game, which is sort of a similar art style. And maybe a couple new extended events, maybe more sub-events with your characters, your party characters, because I felt like there was a lot of them, but it would have been cool to have even more. I felt like that was the best part of the game, was hanging out with your friends and stuff like that. So, and then also hopefully the dungeons are a little bit more varied. To get a little repetitive in Persona 4, so hopefully they're able to mix up the combat and the way you do the dungeon crawling a little bit more. But that was definitely my highlight of the show. As soon as I saw that Atlas logo, I just lost it, because I've been waiting since last November, I believe, is when they announced Persona 5 on that crazy long live stream, which I'm sure some of you stayed up for. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. Although they did mention that they sort of snuck in that there is going to be a delay. It was supposed to come out winter of this year, and now it just says 2015. And Atlas USA did say that Persona 5 is coming in the States in 2015. So hopefully within the next year, maybe next August or next September, we'll have our hands on it. So we'll see. I'm excited for it. I'm really, really excited for it. Now I want to talk about a couple no-shows. I'll try to make this a little quick, because I feel like this video is going on a little long. But one quick one: even though Shuhei Yoshida, the head of Worldwide Studios for Sony, said there was going to be no Last Guardian Tokyo Game Show, I feel like a lot of people were thinking that maybe he was just lying or trying to throw us off, and that it'll be there anyway. No Last Guardian. I was not expecting it to be there, so I'm not really disappointed, although I still really, really want to see it. I was not expecting it. Now, PAX had watchable demos of Type 0, which is the PSP game from Square Enix, Final Fantasy Type 0, and they were going to upport it, remake it for PS4 and Xbox One. And that was nowhere to be seen at the show. We still have not seen visuals or gameplay or screenshots or anything, so I have no idea what this game's going to look like or play like or whatever. So it was interesting that they did not have that at the show at all. At least in the press conference. Maybe during the actual show they'll reveal some gameplay. Maybe they got to save something for the show. And then of course the two big ones. I was not expecting Kingdom Hearts 3. Realistically, I'm thinking 2016, fall 2016 for Kingdom Hearts. I know that seems like a long ways away, but that game was probably barely into development once they announced it at E3 in 2013. So I think it's a fair estimate to say fall 2016. I know it's probably disappointing to a lot of people, but that, just forget about that game for a while. It's not coming anytime soon. And then the big one that people are still scratching their head over is Final Fantasy 15. Once again, a no-show. I don't know what they're doing with this game. It's baffling how bad they are with the PR with this game, because, you know, obviously it was announced in 2006. They've had small gameplay trailers they released over the years. At E3 they had this really crazy trailer. He's diving out of the windows, there's explosions everywhere, the combat looks amazing, and they re-announced it for PS4 as Final Fantasy 15, and people were so excited. I feel like that game stole that press conference for a lot of people, and people that have never played Final Fantasy were excited to play that game. And I don't know why Square Enix doesn't share more information about that game. Maybe it was barely into development when they made that trailer. Maybe that one little castle section is all they have made. Maybe it was just a tech demo, I have no idea. But it's weird that they're not showing anything, because I feel like people are getting very impatient. Like this week on Twitter, on NeoGAF, there was so much snark with that. There was a thread about like list achievements since Final Fantasy Versus 13 was first announced, and they're talking about like, oh, you know, the whole Uncharted series and 2 Last of Us versions have been released and there's not been a game, you know. All kinds of crazy stuff that I can't think of off the top of my head. The entire Professor Layton series has been released. It's just insane how much stuff has come out since that game's been announced, and maybe they're having some special Square Enix only event where they'll talk about it more, but they gotta talk about that game soon or people are just they're gonna get so, like, you know, upset about it. And the thing about it too is, here's another funny thing. There was a Kotaku interview with Hironobu Sakaguchi, who is the creator of Final Fantasy, who now owns a studio called Mistwalker. They made The Last Story and Lost Odyssey, etc. And they were talking to him about, you know, like, what do you think of Final Fantasy? And he sort of laughs and says in English, it's like, it's taking too long. So when, you know, the creator of the series says your game is taking too long, then it's taking too damn long. So they need to, like, figure it out, get some information out there. And then the weird thing is too, you know, we're talking about Type 0, Final Fantasy Type 0. The director of that game says the point of that game, why they're not bringing it to Vita and they're bringing it to the big screen, is they want this to be a lot of people's first introduction to Final Fantasy on this new generation of consoles. So they want this game, they said that this game will be released within a year, so by next August we'll have it, and they want it to be the precursor to Final Fantasy 15, so people can play Type 0 HD, get used to Final Fantasy on new consoles, and then, you know, get ready for a worldwide release for Final Fantasy 15. So we're not looking at Final Fantasy 15 for at least another year, and again, realistically, I'm thinking February 2016 for Final Fantasy 15. I mean, I'm not getting my hopes up at all for this game. I'm gonna try to forget about it for a while. They're gonna have to work on it for a very long time still, which is a little mind-blowing. You know, announced in 2013, it doesn't come out until 2016. You assume they're working on it at least since 2013, 2011. But apparently it's still very high priority. I'm gonna stop rambling because I feel like Final Fantasy 15, I could talk about this, make a whole video about it. But anyways, guys, I want to know what you thought about this pre-TGS conference. What were your highlights? What were things that got you excited? What were your disappointments? Let me know in the comments below. I definitely want to have a big discussion with all of you guys about it, because I love doing that. That's why I like making these videos, is just talking to you guys in the comments about it and on Twitter. So anyway, thank you so much. As I said, next week I will have 2 videos. I'll have my Tales of Exillia 2 review, and then I'll have a, I haven't decided what the other one will be, but it'll be more substantial, like maybe like a top 5, or like I showed you that PS1 graphics for modern games, something along those lines, something fun. So anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below. Hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you soon.